Welcome back to my Ask a Knitter series, where I answer common questions that I get asked in my knitting classes. Today's lesson is going to be all about how you can add increases into Colourwork yokes, best place to hide them, best ways to hide them, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about different kinds of increases. If you're enjoying this series, make sure that you subscribe so that you can watch all of them in the series and you won't miss any of them. So Colourwork yokes, they're really popular, and it took me a long time to actually go and knit one because I found them a little bit intimidating. Basically I tried a few and I couldn't get it quite right, and it was all tied to increases. Increases were actually my problem as to how I couldn't get a good fit. So the reason for that is because I was doing short rows across the yoke, but I wasn't doing increases at the same time. So what that created was a funnel. So with this is sitting down nicely, but if you have short rows and you don't have increases, it sits up like this. It creates this funnel, because a Colourwork yoke, it comes down, you've got circles of increases going down, and so you're creating a cone. Like it's effectively a cone. But if you take a look at your body, it comes down like this and it comes out really fast. So you're going to want that cone to increase very quickly, because sliding a cone down over a body, it's going to rest on the part that it fits. So if this part is the right size down here, but this section is all the same size, it's just going to stand up like a stand-up collar, which if you want that, then that's great. But if you get it where that part is just standing up, what it means is you haven't started increasing quickly enough so that this part sits down and the part that's too small just stands up away from the body. So that was the number one lesson that I learned that made a huge difference. So when I'm designing a Colourwork yoke, and particularly a top-down one, what I'll start with is how many stitches do I want up here, and how many do I want down here for both the sleeve and the bust, less the underarm, because you'll be casting on stitches across here and they will work for both the sleeve and for the body, but you want all of the rest of it down at this point. So that's actually quite a big number of stitches. Usually for the first few circular rounds, you'll have them increase very regularly. You might have knit 2 and a make 1, and then the next one might be knit 3 and a make 1. So the first few increase really rapidly. And that's for that reason that I'm telling you here, is that you want it to go from here up at the neck out to here very fast. So you need all of those increases. Then the rest of it, now there's no sleeves or arms here, but if you've got arms, you can see it'll come down a bit wider, and then the rest of it can slow down a little bit. So I'm going to turn her around here and I'll show you what I mean about that first lot of increases. So to make the back of the neck higher, you're going to want short rows. So you'll work short rows back and forth across here, and you can see how much wider this section of the solid color is versus here, and that's all due to short rows. But up at the top of the short rows here, very quickly after the neck edging, there's just across the back here, just increases worked at the same time. So that allows this to spread out and sit down. So if you don't make any other change into a short row or into a top down circular yoke pattern, I would start adding those in, because it was a game changer for me. And then you've got a couple of rounds very quickly all the way around. That point, I tried with this. I tried seeing if I could get away with the Colourwork pattern without increases, but I ran into the same problem. So basically, I was like, this is quite a wide Colourwork pattern. So initially I had it where this first section is just unmodified, there's no increases down to here. And I tried having that down through the whole thing. When I did that, what ended up happening was the same thing. This part was too tight, and so it actually shoved the whole part of this up here, and it fit really badly. It didn't look very well. So then I took the actual stitch pattern and I started building increases into it. So I was doing lifted increases because they're a really invisible kind of increase. It worked very nicely, but there's not a huge amount, but there's just a couple of rows where you do have some increases worked on the second half of this. And that was enough for it to sit so that this part kept going out over the sleeves. And then down under here, there is a few more again where you've got a couple of more rounds. Now, this is a fairly standard circular yoke, as in you've got, several rounds where there's, first of all, regularly increasing. When I come further down, what I end up doing usually is it's very, very infrequent. It's really what I think of as kind of the tidy up round, where I know how many stitches I'm going to need for down here, and the regular increases doesn't get me to exactly the right place. And at that point, you can just figure out how many extra you want. So that's a really good place if you want to increase your bust size a little, or the sleeve of it. On those final rounds where they're very far spaced apart, you can add in a couple of extra, but just keep it in a regular pattern, so that if it was every 20 stitches, maybe make it every 18 stitches, so that it's still regularly spaced and you don't have those increases bunched in odd places. That way it's going to lie a lot better. The other thing you can actually do that I've seen done is a bit of a morphing between two types of yoke, where you have a circular yoke down to here, and then instead of those other regular increases all the way around, it changes to having raglan increases here, 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 and here, just for that bottom section of the yoke. So I haven't done that one before, but particularly if you're modifying it yourself and the stitches you want to add in can be done in multiples of 8, that's actually another possibility. It's a bit like, I suppose, a Franken mashup of a circular yoke and a raglan sweater, but it will work, and it might be a little bit easier if you just want a very small discrete number of increases and you want it over a longer distance rather than in one circle. So those are a couple of different ideas you can have for how you can add the stitches, where you can actually add, if you're having difficulties with the fit, kind of being able to, I suppose, solve the problem, take a look at it and figure out where exactly is the problem coming in, so that you'll know where adding those stitches will make the most difference for you. But yeah, circular yokes are great fun to knit. They're lovely to wear, but they do require a small little bit of tweaking so that they fit just right. I hope you enjoyed today's video in our Ask a Knitter series. If you want to make sure you see all of the next videos, make sure you subscribe so you won't miss anyone. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at positive ease. So take a look at the next video to see all about what that is and how you can figure it out for your own body size. And thank you very much for watching.